Resolving cold cases is a great source of closure, particularly for the families who have to live with grave losses but without many answers. Sometimes the drive to resolve a case begins in the most unlikely place. Social media is a friend and a foe. In many ways, people believe it has let society down, but more often than not, it's a useful tool, helping in the most unexpected ways. For instance, there are many cases out there that have been closed due to social media posts. Mysteries that have evaded solving have been deciphered and put to rest. It's a surprising but welcome advantage. Number 5. On the 15th of April, 2015, a Reddit user named R.Bradbury1920 uploaded a strange post. He said that he kept finding post-it notes all throughout his apartment, reminding him of errands he had told no one about. At first, he thought he had scribbled them while sleepwalking. That even explained why the handwriting didn't look like his. He thought the matter was resolved and threw the notes out. But on the 19th, he came across another one. The handwriting was the same as the previous one. It was telling him to ensure that he saved his documents. This started to freak him out. He thought someone had broken in, but there was no proof of this. He decided to set up a webcam and a security cam to catch whoever was in the act. 10 days later, he found another note. This one said, quote, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important that we do." The webcam had not captured anything. On his computer, the recycling bin was empty, which he was sure he did not do. Someone must have deleted the webcam folder from his desktop. On the 1st of May, he found more and more notes of varying colors. They were posted on the doors of his apartment, and nothing had been written on them. The point of sharing his story was to figure out what he could do, and he received a variety of responses. He said that he had even begun to suspect that his landlord was doing it after realizing that his landlord's handwriting was similar to the one on the notes. But what could he do about it? He'd initially thought of contacting the landlord to tell him about the mystery of the notes, and the landlord was now implicated in it. The theories about what was happening to him were endless. However, a certain Redditor seemed to have cracked the mystery. He explained that the notes could be the result of carbon monoxide poisoning, which was causing Bradbury to forget about actually posting the notes himself. Bradbury looked into this, and it turned out to be true. He uploaded another post after this, updating everyone that he was indeed suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. Number 4. Benjamin Kyle was the alias of a man who was discovered naked and with injuries, including red ant bites, next to a dumpster behind a Burger King restaurant in Richmond Hill, Georgia, on August 31st, 2004. Benjamin had severe amnesia, so he didn't know who he was. Even the authorities could not identify him, despite actively trying to between 2004 and 2015. When he was first found, emergency services arrived at the scene and took him to the hospital, where he was named Burger King Doe, seeing that he didn't have any identification or recollection of who he was. Benjamin would later be admitted to the Memorial Health University Medical Center. He would later claim that his name was Benjamin Kyle. He'd been given this name based on his initials BK, as that's where he was found. Throughout the years, Kyle's story began to gain traction on social media, particularly on Reddit and Facebook. With this, the campaign to discover his true identity grew. This led to the finding of several leads, but most of them were debunked. Some progress had been made, as Kyle could remember certain memories. He believed he was born 10 years before Michael Jackson. Genetic testing had determined that his surname may have been Powell or Davidson. He even had memories of Indianapolis as a child and brothers that he had, but who was he? Still, no one could answer this question. Where was his family? How had he ended up in Georgia? No one could tell. Thankfully, his case was spreading everywhere, and it caught the attention of C.C. Moore, a genetic genealogist famous for closing over 50 cold cases in a single year. On September 16, 2015, Kyle shared the good news on his Facebook page. C.C. Moore had found his true identity. Kyle said, "Through a process of elimination, they determined my ancestral bloodlines and who my relatives are. A DNA test taken by a close relative has confirmed that we are related. Thus, another mystery was resolved due to the power of social media, and of course, CC Moore. Number 3. Jun Lin was an international student from Wuhan, China, studying at the Engineering and Computer Science facility at Concordia University in Montreal, Quebec. He was declared missing on May 29, 2012, after he failed to turn up for his part-time job at a convenience store. His friends had also not heard from him for a while. The mystery of what happened to Jun Lin was short-lived because a combination of investigations by Facebook users, as well as the culprit's own tendency to promote his crimes on social media, led to his arrest. But it was a famous mystery because his body parts were mailed to different locations, with some of them reaching the doors of political parties in Canada. It all began with videos of animal cruelty that he had uploaded onto the internet. Viewers watched in shock as the live kittens perished before their eyes. Animal activists came together to decipher the video and identify the culprit behind the cruelty. The culprit, being a bit of a show-off, continued to upload content which aided the Facebook group in their aim to identify him. His name was Luca Magnota. The Facebook group warned the police about Luca and how he may get bored with animals and move on to humans. Unfortunately, no significant action was taken in time to save Jun Lin's life. Jun Lin's passing would go on to be one of intrigue as Luca replicated a scene from the famous film Basic Instinct when he committed the crime. Number 2. In 2005, police located remains of an avid skier who disappeared in the Italian Alps in 1954 on the day of his 35th birthday. They were found more than 10,000 feet up the Cima Bianchi along the border between Switzerland and northern Italy. Who was he and how long had his remains been here? In 2017, DNA research technology determined that the skier was between 30 and 35 years of age. But after failing to identify the skier, the authorities decided to promote the investigation on Facebook in France and Switzerland. Italian authorities also reached out to their French counterparts to share their findings in hopes of gaining a lead that would solve the mystery. Finally, Emma Nassem heard about the skier on the radio and figured it might be her uncle, a man named Henry Lamanna, who got lost in a storm in 1954. Shortly after, Roger Lamanna, Henry's younger brother, also reached out, saying, "I'm the brother of Henry, who is likely the skier who disappeared 64 years ago. He was a bachelor and quite independent. He worked in the finance ministry in Paris." A saliva sample later verified that the skier was indeed Henry Lamanna. However, the lead that led to the initial breakthrough was due to the story going viral on Facebook. Number 1. Carol Cole escaped from a juvenile detention center in Texas in October of 1980 and vanished without a trace shortly after. At the time, she was only 17 years old. Even after her escape, she would occasionally send letters home to her family. Her family got worried when the letters and calls ceased right before Christmas. Her paternal grandmother decided to trace the phone number Carol last used to dial the family. The person on the other end of the line informed Carol's grandmother that Carol had been residing with them. Recalling that phone call, Carol's grandmother stated, quote, "I can't remember who. I was told she went to a party and never came back." Carol's grandmother would try to locate Carol for years and years without success. In 2000, she passed away. Meanwhile, Carol's family remained concerned. Why had Carol run away? Where did she go? The questions were endless. When Carol's sister, Jeannie, reached her 20s, she began to search for her sister. Carol was last seen in Shreveport, and with the help of a friend, Jeannie contacted authorities in Shreveport to inquire about her sister, but she made no progress. She resorted to Craigslist and Facebook to get help. She also started getting in touch with law enforcement across the country with unidentified bodies that could possibly belong to Carol. She said, quote, "I just missed my sister," referring to her investigation of her sister's fate. Carol's family searched for her in vain for a total of 34 years. Little did they know the detectives had similarly been failing to identify a body they discovered hidden under a pile of leaves in Bossier Parish, Louisiana. An investigator in the case said, quote, "We got to the point where we eliminated just about everyone. What else is there to do?" Similar to Carol, the investigator resolved to enlist Facebook to help by creating a page about the mystery. The answer came to them within a week of creating the page. The composite drawing of the victim on the Facebook page was similar to a photo posted on Craigslist of a missing person. The family of the missing person was contacted immediately. That's how Carol's family found out what had happened to Carol after all those years. But the story doesn't end there. More details later surfaced about a John Chesson, who had initially found the body of Carol after she had passed away. His daughter, Frank LeBlanc, recalls her father picking up Carol and inviting her to stay with them before she disappeared. She believes her father had something to do with Carol's tragic fate. What's more is that when Carol's body was initially found, the police almost cracked the case as they'd considered Carol's grandmother's missing persons report to be a possible lead. But the coroner debunked this possibility due to, quote, "numerous differences that the police didn't publicly share." So what actually happened? Who was responsible for Carol's passing? The mystery of her life is certainly interesting, and it's one that's to be resolved on another day. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.